Hey, my name is Wale Babatunde, and I will be starting a series titled Practical Tips today. And today's topic is going to be focusing on how to pass USMLE Step 1 on second attempt. And the rationale for this is I got a number of questions one-on-one from people about some of the things I talked about in past videos as testimonies or successes or things that I was able to get through. And I just feel instead of talking to people one-on-one about these issues, I could just make videos about them so I could reach wider audience. And when people ask me this question, I can ask them, have you listened or watched this video? And after watching it, they could ask more questions and, or more targeted questions that is more relevant to them after getting the general feel of things. So today, like I said, I'm talking about USMLE Step 1 success. So I passed USMLE Step 1 on second attempt. I failed the first one. And this video is mainly for people who have failed the first time and they want to succeed the second time. Of course, the principles of success is general and it can be useful for everybody, irrespective of whether you've never tried or you've ever tried. But I'm going to focus mainly on the things that worked for me the second time, much more than just talking to people about success. And this is not necessarily only about USMLE exams alone. It's something that might be useful or definitely useful for any exams, whether standardized or not, to pass. So it's useful for everybody. It's useful for any exams, but I'm going to be using USMLE Step 1 as a case study because that was the one that I took specifically that I failed before passing. Full transparency, I failed Step 1 once and I passed the second time a year later. Step 2, I passed it. I took it once and I passed. Step 3, I took it once and I passed. So I believe the things I learned in the first failure helped me not to fail again for the other two steps. So I believe it's the general step for everybody that would be useful for exam passing generally. But I will speak to specifically, I'm speaking primarily to those who have failed Step 1 once and they are thinking, can they ever pass it again? Is there a way to do this exam and pass it? And that's going to be the primary focus for today. So let's get to work. I'm going to still be using the map lamp principle like I'll always do for most of my videos. Meaning making. For today, we are going to make meaning from the quote of Winston Churchill, which says, success is stumbling from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm, which means you can only succeed if you are used to failing. And like we've said in previous videos, that a lot of things about perception. So success is moving from one failure to another failure without loss of enthusiasm. For every successful person, there will have been multiple failures along the way before they hit success. And for the success you hit, there will be further failures along the way too as you continue to move through life. So most of what we call failure is there are things that are part of life that we just need to go through. And so that's the meaning we are making today is from Winston Churchill's quote that success is moving from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. So if you have failed, let me address you specifically USMLE 1 or any exam for that matter. That's not the end of life. For me, like I shared in a particular video in the past, it was tough for me because I had just so much going on in my life at that time. I was a PhD student at the time when I took it, full-time PhD student. And I also had a full-time job I was trying to do, side hustle to make extra money to feed myself and my family, to keep life going. So, and I also, at that time I took the first Step 1 exam, I also had NIH grant F99/K00 as part of my PhD program. So it was a very busy time for me. It was like doing 3 full-time things at the same time. But is that an excuse for failure? No. No matter what it is, it's still not an excuse for failure. I knew residency was something I wanted to do in the US, and I knew passing USMLE Step 1, Step 2, and Step 3 is compulsory. So I would recommend that no matter how hard it is for you, with good planning, which we're going to talk about in a bit, you can get through this exam and still pass it, no matter what life is for you right now. So apart from meaning making, the next one is A, which is action. Action I always call massive action. So for passing USMLE Step 1 exam or any other exam you're doing, specifically after failing, the massive action that I would recommend is that it's unique to individuals, but I'll tell you what I did. What I did was decide to study for 6 hours every single day for about 1 whole year. Yes. And like I said, this was the time when I was still a full-time student. I cut back on the job I was doing when I failed the first one because I needed more hours for my USMLE exam. Of course, the grant had to continue doing my work. So outside of my full-time PhD, 40 hours a week, I had to look for another 6 hours every single day for about 1 full year to prepare for the second examination. So massive action is still compulsory and it is necessary. There's nothing we can do about it. It's just something you have to find time for. And I always recommend that you don't stretch it too wide. Make it quick and fast as much as you can. So typically, I will not recommend preparing for more than a year for this exam. This might be tough depending on your situation, but of course you have to look at your own personal situation and decide on what works best for you. So my recommendation is maximum 1 year preparation, but make your massive action every day. Don't miss a day as much as possible. Of course, life happens and things happen that might make it hard. You might miss 1 day here, miss 1 day there, but as much as possible, try hard not to miss any day. So make every single effort you can to stick. If you decide for 6 hours, stick with it every single day for those 1 year. Or if you decide for 6 months or 6 hours, stick with it every single day for that 6 months or for 1 year, whatever time you decide will work best for you. P is planning. So you've got to sit down and plan and decide what is going to work best for you in terms of preparing for this exam. Let's say you've decided for 6 hours every day for 1 year. How do you plan? What time works best for you? So number one thing that has to go into your planning is what time of the day is going to be feasible for you. If you have a full-time job, for example, like I'm assuming most people, for example, who are internationals like me, might have a full-time job to keep body and soul together. If you're a full-time student that what you're studying is to the exam, then it makes even things much better for you. You need to decide, but even if you're a full-time student, you still have to go to classes, you have to do other things in between. So you need to decide what time works. Is it in the evening? Is it early in the morning? Is it in the midnight? Whatever works for you. But try, the goal is consistency as much as possible. For me at that time, because I have a full-time PhD job, I tried to work very early in the morning. There was a time I was working like 4 a.m. to 8 in the morning, and I'll do the other 2 hours in the evening most of the days. So you need to decide what time works best for you. And of course, you can change it, you can adjust it, you can edit it. The most important thing is you need to keep moving in the right direction by finding what is the best time of the day that you're going to do this. So you decide on 6 hours, 1 year, what time of the day. You choose early in the morning, 4 to 10 a.m. If that's feasible for you, you could choose in the evening. I personally assimilate best when I study after rest. So either first thing in the morning when I wake up, or if I have a quick afternoon nap and I wake up maybe like 6, I could do 6 at night till 12 midnight, whatever it is. So, but that's for me. And I'm guessing maybe a good number of people will be like that, because this is an exam that requires a lot of concentration. You want to assimilate as much as possible. So you want to make sure you're also resting. So part of your plan is there has to be a plan for quality sleep or rest. I've shared in another video that personally for me, since medical school days, I understood that the minimum number of hours I need to sleep every day to function best in preparation for exams and whatever I'm doing is 6 hours every day. At times I break the 6 hours into 2, and at times I just do it straight. So, but that's me. I'm not recommending that specifically, but you need to know, look back into your life at times you've taken exams and know what has worked best for you, and try to reach out for that same effort and use it again. So if you know you need 7 hours every day to function best, find out to do it and to stamp these 6 hours of USMLE on top of it, every single day, and then every other thing comes in after that. So you need to prioritize this exam. I call it a beast exam because it's difficult, even for students who are young and fresh, it can be a hard thing. But if, for example, you are international, you're in your 30s or maybe when they are 40s, I took this exam when I was 2019, so I was like 40 already, so I wasn't a young person writing this exam. So make sure you put in your best and work on that. PL is learning. So for learning, I'm going to show you my book that I used. I'm going to give you 3 main materials I used for this exam, and I'm going to recommend and see this book just to show you this is first aid for the USMLE. This is what my first aid for the USMLE looked like the second time I was writing the exam. I had one I used the first time. I think I've discarded that now, but this was the one I used. I decided to keep it because I believe it's going to be useful to explain a lot of things to people. So that's the first aid for the USMLE thing. So for learning, I would say specifically for USMLE Step 1 examination, I'm going to recommend only 3 main things or 4 main things to use to learn. Number 1 is one question bank. This was one big mistake I made the first time I wrote the exam when I failed. Looking back, I believe maybe I would have passed if I had known what I knew now, but of course, I failed because I didn't know all I am supposed to know. Use only one Q bank. One Q bank because you don't have all the time to do too many things at the same time. And one Q bank is difficult enough. And the way the brain works is better to have one thing learned again and again, and your brain develops pathways for that knowledge, than when you have everything scattered. You're trying to learn this, you're trying to learn this, you're trying to learn that. It might be hard for the brain to follow. So one Q bank. I think the Q bank most people recommend is the U World. So I used the U World Q bank, one Q. I didn't search any other Q bank the entire 1 year when I was preparing for the second USMLE exam. I finished it twice. So I recommend getting one Q bank, finish it at least twice completely. And what I would also recommend, I think that's the most important material. And the way I do it is do 40 questions every day. So time yourself the way you would time yourself in the exam. Don't wait till exam time to time yourself. And do it the way I do it randomly, the way you would do it in the examination hall. So I don't do it section by section. I'll just get into it, put all unanswered questions, 40 questions, every day 40 questions, and go through every single thing written on the one as much as possible, very quickly. 6 hours is typically not enough, but just try as hard as you can. Some concepts will be easier that you already know very well. You might not need a lot of time for those, but some are more difficult and need a lot of time. So I'm going to strongly recommend that you have one Q bank. And then number 2 is one memorization aid, which I just showed you, my first aid for the USMLE. This was my memorization aid for the exam. And just one book. Find a way to connect things together. And you can see all my sticky notes there. It's just to help me connect things together as much as possible. One Q bank, one memorization aid. The third one is videos. I just looked up like osmosis and other videos, and I created a playlist for the videos that helped me to that. But that one for me is supplemental, and we all learn differently. But I think the 2 biggest things you need is number 1, the Q bank, U World, and number 2, the first aid for the USMLE. Those are the 2 biggest material. Then all other things will be supplementary. So for me, supplementary was the videos. I watch them whenever I'm driving, whenever I'm doing things. And then the final one is the MBME question to test readiness. After you've done with the first Q bank, complete reading every single thing. Don't just read the one you failed alone. As much as possible, the one you passed, the one you failed, read everything written under option A, option B, option C, option D, option E, so that's the way you learn. And train your brain to read quickly, to learn quickly, to know it quickly. And that way you can easily master the points. So the MBME helps you to test your readiness at the end of first round, at the end of second round. And if you need just a few more weeks to brush up your areas of weakness, you do that quickly. Alliance, find a partner and find people that will encourage you. Partner, I had a partner that we studied together every day. I've never met him in person. We were just on Zoom. And almost every day we were doing questions together. So that was extremely helpful for me. So find a partner that you can work together with on the exam, and that's going to be don't walk this walk alone. The other thing is find people that will encourage you. I had a colleague during my PhD who did the USMLE exam prior to me even starting the first one. She encouraged me all the time. And one thing about her that was very encouraging was, she was living alone with her 2 kids at the time she took the exams, and always say, if you can write all these exams, step 1, step 2, step 3, during your PhD, your masters at the same time, and you had 2 kids to care for alone at that time, her husband was not here with her, it was extremely encouraging. She was one of those that encouraged me the best for this examination. So find people that can encourage you, find people you can work with on a daily basis, and find a time that work together with you. Is mission statements, and like I always told us, I always have mission statements for everything I do in life. If you can look at I'm going to show you the first page of my USMLE wall. I don't know if you can see this from the video. I wrote a number here, and the number here is 246. That was my target when I was writing the second exam. The first one I failed. I had 191. The passing score was 194. I was 3 points short of passing. I said, if I'm going to take this exam again, I'm not going to go for 200. I'm going to go for 246. Did I make 246? No. I did not make 246. I think I eventually had 220-ish. But sorry, I take that back. I had 210. So, but 246 was my target. So you should have a target for yourself and set a high target. There's a saying that you should aim for the sky. If you don't get there, you will land among the stars. So aim for something big and work hard towards that something big. So the worst case scenario, if you don't get to that big one, you can get to the lower one. So my eventual score was 210. It was step 2 that I had 220. I'm mixing them up now. How my brain can function properly. So the other part of mission statements, which I'm also going to show you from the first page here, if you see me, I stamped a paper here. And what was written on the paper is I wrote the time for my postdoc, which I was going to do, the time for my residency, residency, and after the time I was going to be a professor. So I have a lot of other things written. And if you also look at my first page here, you could see, my MBBS was 2003. My fellow West African College officer, that was my Nigerian fellowship. I wrote the time there, 2011. My PhD was to end in 2019. It ended in 2019. Then after that, when this residency concluded in 2027, and it's interesting that I'm concluding it now this year, 2025. It's faster. And to be a professor in 2035, so director, business owner, I have other things I want to do with my life. But the point I'm making is always focus on the big picture. Life is not only about USMLE alone. Hopefully you pass it, but there are other parts of life that you also need to focus on. So, and at times the big picture, the things that you connect with emotionally, they matter more than even the things that are only objective. So focus on the big picture. What drives you? What's making you go? So when I'm thinking of passing this USMLE the second time, I have other things that are driving me. I have other things that I've lined up that will follow after USMLE that I want to do with my life that makes me happy. So look at focus on the big picture. What are the areas of your life that matters a lot to you that the USMLE will tie into it? So like, for example, I already have a research director position immediately after my residency now. So the USMLE residency is tying into something bigger for me, into something that is very exciting to me. So it's not just about passing the exam alone. It's about the bigger picture of my life and where I'm going with my life. And what does the USMLE piece passing, how does it add up to the bigger picture of my life, which is already adding up right now. So please focus on that too, and that keeps you going when things are rough and when things are tough. Finally, map lamp. Finally is prayers. I always pray every time I study and ask God for help me. So I would recommend praying at all times, and don't ever get tired of asking God to help you. There's another Bible verse that says, "If I fall 7 times, I'll rise up." That you fall, so number of times you fail does not matter. You can always rise up from every failure. So that's it for today. And in your prayers also, one of the things I always do in my prayer is my target of 246. I always put it in my prayer points. I always have a folder where I have my prayer points. I like praying right now. I pray early in the morning or in the middle of the night, and I always tell God, this is what I want. and I call it forth. And also I have affirmations. I'm like 246. I remember for a long time on my phone, my screen page, what I had on it was 246. Even up to the first 2 years of residency, I still had it. I just removed it recently to put other things. So that kept me going, because that became my mission statement for step 1, even for step 2, for step 3. Though I never got to 246 in each of them, but at least I passed relatively very well, very comparable to, a fresh graduate who just finished from medical school. So I'm really grateful for all of that. So make sure you also have your affirmation statements. Tell yourself, I can do it, I can become it. Pray about it, talk to God about it, and I believe things will work out for you. I wish you the best on your preparation, and I hope everything continues to go well for you. Finally, remember to like this video, share with anybody you know is struggling to pass USMLE exam. Maybe they failed and they are struggling. My desire is for this video to get to the hand of every single person who has ever failed USMLE 1 before. You know somebody who has failed USMLE 1 and who needs some encouragement, please share this video to them and send it to them. You know somebody who has failed any exam at all, whether it's because the principles, like I said, are very useful also for other examinations. Please share this video to them, send it to them, watch it. And if you have any specific questions that have to do with you, that is very unique, that maybe this video has not addressed, please feel free to shoot me a message. You can reach out to me at wole@oluwolebabatunde.com. Wole is W-O-L-E, at Oluwole is O-L-U-W-O-L-E, Babatunde, BABATUNDE.com. Wole@oluwolebabatunde.com. So please reach out to me, and I'll be happy to reply your emails and to see whatever I can do to help you as you continue this journey. Hopefully in the future we can start something practical, have some workshops, and could help people in a very more practical way. But for now, make the best of this video, share with people, like it, and subscribe to the channel if you have not. And again, I'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much.